the Galactic Research Station. Kepler's promise hummed with the sterile efficiency of 1,000 automated systems. Dr. Mia Chen adjusted her lab coat as she walked through the crystalline corridors, nodding to her Xanthari colleagues, tall, bird-like beings whose feathers shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed their emotions more clearly than words ever could. She was the only human on the station, a xenobiologist studying the development patterns of apex predators from across the galaxy. It was prestigious work, the kind that could define a career. The kind that came with rules, very strict rules. As Mia approached her laboratory, she noticed her locker door was slightly ajar. Her heart sank. She knew what she would find even before she opened it fully. 2 pairs of luminous eyes stared back at her from the darkness. "You'll get me fired," Mia whispered, though she couldn't suppress the smile tugging at her lips. The Vraxian cubs, each no larger than a house cat but infinitely more dangerous, chirped softly. Their obsidian scales caught the light, creating rainbow patterns across their serpentine bodies. They shouldn't have been here. They should have been in the high-security habitat 3 levels down, under constant monitoring. But here they were, curled up among her spare uniforms and research tablets. Mia glanced down the corridor. Empty. She reached into the locker and gently scooped up the first cub. It nuzzled against her palm, its forked tongue flickering out to taste her scent. The second cub climbed up her arm with surprising agility, settling onto her shoulder. "How do you keep escaping?" she murmured, carrying them back into her lab. This was the 3rd time this week. The first time, Mia had panicked. Vraxians were classified as Class 7 predators, capable of stripping flesh from bone in seconds once fully grown. Their venom could paralyze creatures 10 times their size. Protocol demanded immediate sedation and containment, but Mia had hesitated. She had watched them fumble around her lab, play fighting with each other, chirping in what she recognized as distress calls for their mother, a mother who had died during transport to the station. She had broken protocol then. She had comforted them. Now, weeks later, it had become routine. "Command would have me court-martialed if they knew," Mia said, setting the cubs down on her workstation. They immediately began investigating everything with curious intensity, their small claws clicking against the metal surface. The door hissed open. Mia's blood ran cold. Max Rodriguez, the station's security chief, stood in the doorway. His broad frame filled the space and his dark eyes swept the room with practiced efficiency. Those eyes landed on the cubs. For a long moment, neither human spoke. "Dr. Chen," Max said finally, his voice carefully neutral. "Those appear to be restricted specimens outside their containment area." Mia's mind raced through excuses, explanations, anything that might salvage this situation. But Max was by the book. He had to be. His job was to maintain safety protocols on a station housing some of the most dangerous creatures in known space. "I can explain," she began. Max held up a hand. He stepped into the lab, letting the door close behind him. Then, to Mia's astonishment, he knelt down. One of the cubs immediately bounded over to him, climbing up his uniform with enthusiastic chirps. "You name them yet?" Max asked softly. Mia blinked. "What? The cubs? Did you name them?" He scratched the small creature under its chin. It made a sound somewhere between a purr and a hiss, the Vraxian equivalent of contentment. Ember and Shadow," Mia admitted. "But Max, I know this violates Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the Xenobiological Safety Protocols," Max finished. He smiled, a rare expression on his usually stern face. "I know. I wrote half of those protocols." He stood, the cub still clinging to his shoulder. "I've been monitoring the security feeds, Mia. I've watched you with them." "I've also watched them." Max pulled out his tablet, swiping through data. "Their stress hormones are 60% lower than any other Vraxian specimens on record. Their social development is accelerating. They're learning, adapting. Because of you. You're not going to report me?" "Report you?" Max laughed, a sound Mia had never heard from him before. "Mia, you're doing what humans have done for thousands of years. We don't just study predators. We befriend them. We turn wolves into dogs, wild cats into companions. It's what we do." He gestured to the cubs now playfully wrestling on the workstation. "Every other species in the galaxy sees predators as threats to be controlled or eliminated. But humans? We see potential. We see individuals." Mia felt warmth spreading through her chest. The Zenthari Council would never understand. No, Max agreed. They wouldn't. They think we're reckless. Dangerous, even. They don't understand that our capacity for bonding with predators is exactly what makes us good at this work. He handed her his tablet. On the screen was a detailed report. Weeks of data showing the cubs' development, their behavioral improvements, their growing trust in Mia. I've been documenting everything, Max said. When the time comes, and it will come, we'll present this to the council. We'll show them that the human way isn't wrong. It's just different. Ember chose that moment to leap from Mia's shoulder to Max's, using his head as a launching point. Both humans laughed as Shadow joined the chaotic game. They'll still probably fire us, Mia said. Probably, Max agreed. But they might also revolutionize xenobiological research in the process. Besides, he caught Ember mid-leap, cradling the cub gently. Look at them. Could you really give this up? Mia watched as Shadow curled up in her hands, his scales warm against her skin. These creatures, deadly, dangerous, feared across the galaxy, trusted her completely. They had chosen her just as she had chosen them. No, she said simply. I couldn't, Max nodded. Then we do this together. The human way. Over the following weeks, Max and Mia worked in secret partnership. They modified the security systems, created alibis, and documented every breakthrough. The cubs thrived, learning to respond to commands, to differentiate between play and aggression, to trust. When the Zenthari Council finally discovered what was happening, there was outrage. Meetings were called. Protocols were cited. Termination papers were drafted. But then Mia and Max presented their data. They showed how Ember and Shadow could be called back from a hunt with a simple word. How they protected rather than attacked when Mia was threatened during a controlled test. How they had become something unprecedented. Domesticated Vraxians. The council deliberated for days. In the end, they didn't fire Mia and Max. They promoted them. A new division was created. Human-Predator Integration Studies. Because the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what humans had known instinctively for millennia. The most dangerous predators don't need to be our enemies. Sometimes, they just need someone willing to smile when they peek out from a locker and whisper, "You'll get me fired," and mean it as a promise rather than a threat.